Hey guys! Today I'd like to show you how to make bread with no hard labor work. So let's get started. So first, take a big bowl and you want to mix all the dry ingredients first. So you want to add the flour, the salt, and the yeast in the bowl. Give it a good mix and we can add the water in. Once you add the water in, keep mixing it until it's evenly and well mixed. This should take no more than 5 minutes really. And this is the hardest work really in this bread making. And your dough should look like this. And then cover it with a saran wrap and just leave it on the counter to let it rise. The dough will be ready to bake in between 8 to 18 hours. So when the dough is ready to bake, it should look kind of bubbly like this. Then you want to prepare a wet work surface or a steel pad like what I'm doing to rise the dough a second time. But don't worry, when I said work surface, you're really just gonna pour the dough out onto the work surface and shape it into a round shape. Then cover the dough and let it rise for another 30 minutes. While the dough is rising, you can put the cast iron pot in the oven to preheat with the oven. We will preheat our oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. When the dough is ready, just take out the pot and put the dough in. Put the lid back on and put the whole thing in the oven to bake for 30 minutes. When the time's up, take the lid out and let it bake for another 15 minutes to brown the top. Okay, I was half asleep here, so I took the whole pot out to remove the lid, but it's really unnecessary. When the time is up, take the bread out to let it cool. Now your plate should be filled with this fresh baking bread smell. There you have it. Enjoy this super easy, delicious, and crispy bread. Hi guys! Thanks for watching today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed my video on how to make this artisan bread. And it's super easy, super awesome recipe for, somebody who's really lazy like me. As you guys probably know already, I'm a pianist, so I try to avoid excessively using my hand outside of playing piano as much as possible. So we love bread, but the thing is I don't have the energy and the strength to keep kneading it for the texture. And so when I first came across this recipe, that was just the greatest news ever. So you guys really have to try this. Now this no-knead bread is first introduced, it came up by this guy here. I'll show you the name here. And so this method is kind of using the slow rising dough method to let the dough become the bread texture. And so it takes a long time to have it rise. So usually I do it the night before and then go to sleep, and then by the time I wake up in the morning, it's ready to bake. So it's a great way to make bread, and it's really easy. Absolutely no kneading needed. And it's almost foolproof because when I first tried this, it was a big success already. So now a couple things I do want to mention is that you do want to make sure you have good yeast. It's very, very important. One time I did try it with a kind of an older yeast and it just didn't rise as much and it was kind of dense. And so you do want to make sure your yeast are fresh and really good for baking this bread. And second thing is you want to have something. I used a cast iron pot with a lid. You do want to have something that's ceramic or cast iron pot with a lid on top. So then you can make sure that when it's in the pot, the steam will cook it through and have it rise, and then you'll take the lid off to bake the top to have the color on top. So, and also the third thing is that this is the most basic kind that we make today, and usually I do add in some grains, some nuts sometimes in it, so you can feel free to do that. Just in the step, make sure you mix it with the dry ingredients first before you add in the water. Now, one thing to note though, if you're to do that, make sure that all the nuts are not too much. I would say the safe amount is about half cup to 1 cup, because one time, homemade things, right, is rich in everything. So I thought, well, I'll add in a bunch of nuts, it's very flavorful and everything, but the bread came out just way too dense. There was no room for the dough to rise. That's my theory, but it just came out really dense. So you want to avoid that. So just kind of judge, definitely not half of what your flour is. I think 1/4 of what the flour is good. So you can play around with it, and we'll definitely do another video on how to make this bread, but with some grains as well. And one last thing I want to mention is that in the video I used water to wet the dough, or to prevent the dough from sticking to my hands. Now I read this on the internet somewhere. If I can find this article again, I'll post it here. But I don't really remember where I read this. This person mentioned that usually we use flour on the counter and on our hands to prevent the dough from sticking, but the flour changes the moisture in the dough. So I did try both ways, but with flour, the crust usually comes out much harder. Every time I use water to wet the dough to spray it on the counter, the outside is very, very crispy, like what you just saw in the video. So thanks guys for watching today's video. I hope that you have enjoyed this and you will give it a try. It's really, really easy, and homemade bread is really tasty and healthy as well. So I'll see you in my next video. Thanks, bye!